This is the Impressions Exchange Podcast. Where all topics impacting the graphic imaging and printing industry are addressed via in-depth news coverage, analysis, and timely interviews.
Hi, I'm Kaylee Vandewater, Associate Content and Online Editor at Printing United Alliance. In honor of Women's History Month, I'm speaking with women who set an example within the implant community to learn more about how they got their start in printing, how they've grown professionally, and what they have to say to other women in printing. Today, it's my pleasure to welcome Kristen Hampton, Division Director of Print and Mail Management at Michigan Department of Technology, Management, and Budget in Lansing, Michigan, and Lisa Scott, Director of Yale Printing and Publishing Services in New Haven, Connecticut.
Happy to be here.
My first question is, I want to know more about your journey of how you got involved in the printing industry.
I actually fell into it by accident. I have a degree from Michigan State University in journalism. So I was looking for a job kind of in that field. And I took a temp position with the state as a typesetter. And I found I really liked the work. I liked the people. I liked where I was at. And I was really lucky that the person who was on medical leave decided to be a stay-at-home mom, and I was able to get that job. And I started as a typesetter, and I wore a lot of different hats. You know, I was a supervisor. I was a printing consultant. I've been a manager of just the print, and now I'm the director over the print and the mail operation for the state of Michigan. It was an accident. I wish I could say it was my destination, but it really wasn't. It was an accident, a good one.
That's awesome. Lisa, how about you?
I think a lot of people don't really plan on getting into the printing industry, and we kind of find ourselves here for one reason or another. And my story is similar. I mean, I started out of high school going to a 2-year business school that had a mass media program, and that we learned everything from TV and radio, and printing was very big then. Obviously it was in the 80s, and printing was king as far as the media and communication. So I really enjoyed the design and the pre-press part of it, and my goal was to go to be a TV anchor, but got sidetracked into printing. I started out as a typesetter also, which is interesting. I had a friend who was working at a company, and she's like, there's this job opening. And so I had just graduated, and I thought, well, a job is a good thing to have. So started out as a typesetter and worn many different hats as well. In typesetting at that point, desktop publishing was just starting. And so the Macintosh was evolving, which was a huge game changer in the printing industry. So I kind of morphed into doing layout and desktop publishing. And I just kept learning and worked in the commercial pre-press world for about 13 years before moving into higher ed. And that's when I jumped up into a more leadership role as a director, and I've been in higher ed for 25 years and at Yale now, which I'm absolutely thrilled with.
I think it's great that you both started out as typesetters. How has working in the printing industry contributed to your personal growth? Lisa, do you want to start with that one?
Sure. I've had so many opportunities to do things that I never would have imagined, like working at Yale, for example. I mean, I never imagined myself working at a world-class university, but printing introduced me to that. Working in higher ed gave me the opportunity to go back and get a bachelor's degree in communications, which has just helped me personally and professionally. I've spoken at conferences all over the United States and around the world, which is something I didn't think I would be doing. I was the president of the Association of College and University Printers for 5 years, and which was a huge privilege and a big responsibility. And that really helped me grow as a person. So lots of things contributed to personal growth because I was in the printing industry.
I would say it's very similar. I think I've done a lot of things I would not have done had I not been in the printing industry. I've gotten a lot more confident. I'm on the IPMA board of directors, which I wouldn't have done without the printing background that I had. I've spoken at conferences and done things that I never in a million years would have ever seen myself do. So I think that, there's a lot of personal growth coming from the printing industry itself.
So I wanted to know more about what sort of challenges do you face as a woman in printing, and how do you address those issues?
I would say the challenges are not as common now as they were 25 years ago. When I got into printing, it was mostly men. But I think working in higher education and in an implant was probably a little more forward thinking for women in the industry than maybe the commercial world was. I'm not sure. But I think the way to address any challenge is to earn people's respect. And by being knowledgeable in the industry, and when people first meet you, give them an opportunity to get to know you, whether you're a woman or a man or anybody in this industry. I think maybe women, we had to learn how to work a bit harder maybe than men did and kind of not be too assertive. I've not seen too many challenge, but now there's so many women, like Kristen and myself, and I've got lots of women colleagues who are in a director position that are just doing great work.
I would agree. When I first started, I was 24 and it was 1994 and it was all men and me for the most part. And so it was a different time. I think that at first it was maybe a little rough. Mostly they're older, they treat me like their daughter. But I think I earned their respect. They trusted me, they knew what I was saying, they understood where I was coming from, and I pushed when I have to. But I think overall, outside of that very beginning, maybe the first 10 years of my career, I'd come up against that. But there's so many women in the field now, and we're gaining people even in my division. We're bringing women in now, and I think that's important. There really isn't the gender bias there used to be. This new generation, they just don't have it. It's a wonderful thing.
I kind of wanted to hear if you did have any experiences of gender bias in your career, how you addressed that, what you learned from it. And it sounds like maybe those experiences would have been a while ago based on what you're saying. So that's a good thing. But do you guys want to share any experiences?
In my experience, it was being a mother. I had a boss who had never taken a sick day for a child his entire career. When your kid's got a fever, your toddler, you can't leave him at home. And so it was being a mom and trying to take that and blend those two positions was difficult 10 years ago. Nowadays, there's a lot of different opportunities people have with working remotely. But I think that, I ended up having to talk to my manager and really have a real heart to heart with him that, I understand that you're concerned that I'm gone for 2 days unexpectedly, but I'm a single mom and I can't take my son to daycare when he's sick, and you didn't have to do that. So it really was more of a communication thing. And I think standing up for yourself and actually telling him, look, this isn't okay and I need you to stop.
Lisa, do you have anything?
I do have one story that just kind of makes me chuckle, and I think it probably wasn't intentional, but this happened and this was a long time ago as well, with a sales rep, printing sales rep. It was a lot of men in printing sales equipment and things like that. So, and I had just taken over a director position, and there was kind of a good old boys network with sales reps and directors, and he could never remember my name, even though I had met him multiple times. So what he would do before he would come in to visit me is he would call my assistant and say, "What's that girl's name who took over the director role?" I don't think he meant anything by it, but he kept calling me that girl. And so after about 4 times of him not remembering my name, I decided maybe he wasn't the best person for me to do business with. So, but yeah, I think it was just a generational thing. I don't think it was malicious, but it was derogatory.
It sounds like you were able to handle it though, so that's a good thing. And it happened a long time ago, so that's also another good thing.
Yeah.
How do you empower yourself and other women in the workplace, especially in a traditionally male-dominated field like printing?
I just try and be a good mentor and help any woman who shows initiative that wants to learn something new. And sometimes that means, they're applying for a different job. I had a really great woman who worked for me, and I knew she was ready for kind of a next leadership management role. And she was applying for a job someplace else, which was great for her. And I knew she was ready for it. So I really gave her a good recommendation and kept in touch with her. And she told me I was her mentor, which really meant a lot. And I'm just so pleased to see her successful now. So, sometimes you have to let people fly, but anybody who shows initiative and wants to learn, I help them in any way I can.
That's great. How about you, Kristen?
I think very much the same. When I see somebody who is showing that initiative and they want to learn, and I'm doing everything I can. I'm encouraging them, I'm teaching them new things, I'm showing them the ropes, I'm empowering them to learn something new, and I don't want to see them leave. But if they do and it's something bigger and better, then I'm going to be really happy for them. And I know it's going to be because of what we did in the background. So there's a lot of opportunity to empower women.
I wanted to hear your thoughts on how diversity, especially gender diversity, helps the printing industry. Kristen, do you want to start with that one?
Sure. The more women in the printing industry is a really good thing. I think women are better listeners. I think they're good at prioritizing and fulfilling needs. And I think that you need that balance. Still fairly male dominated, but I think we're starting to see more women come in. They have a different perspective. Women can look at things differently. And I think it provides a better balance for a better career for everyone.
What are your thoughts, Lisa?
Working in higher education, diversity in the workplace has been valued, maybe more than it had been in the commercial industry. But it's definitely great to bring a women's perspective into printing. And I don't like to generalize. Men do things one way and women do things another way, but I think women are more empathetic. They just bring a different perspective. And I was probably naive when I got into it. I didn't realize, I mean, nobody ever said a woman doesn't work in printing. So I just figured, well, I like this. I think I'm pretty good at it, so I'm just going to do it. And so I wish more women would get into it, because I've got 40 staff and it's about 25% women, but I'd like to see more women on my staff. So it'd be great.
I wanted to learn a little more about your professional growth and how networking and community, and I know both of you attend conferences, so I wanted to learn more about how that helps your professional growth.
I am a firm believer that the networking is critical. I said I'm on the board as the secretary treasurer of the IPMA, and I think that that group of implants has been critical. I mean, I can reach out to any of them. We have shared experiences. You buy new equipment, you can talk to them about their experiences with the different equipment or the company. I actually, as an offshoot of IPMA, we have a group of state governments that we talk every month, because sometimes higher ed and state government may have some similarities. State governments have a lot of similarities, and a lot of the things that we go through are the same. So we meet with them, and it's really, I mean, you can call them at any point in time and get some feedback on things that are going on. So it's really, I think, really critical to our business.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. It's probably the most important thing you can do for your professional growth. I've been involved in IPMA and in ACUP, and people in the implant community are just so generous in sharing what they know. It's really impacted me, and I'm glad we're back to attending in person. I mean, the virtual conferences were great, but there's nothing like sitting down across the table from someone and just talking about a problem you're having, or like Kristen said, a new piece of equipment that's coming out, or declining volumes, or growth opportunities. And it's given me more confidence, and it's helped my staff. It's helped my department grow just from sharing knowledge. I mean, it's amazing.
I also wanted to hear what advice you would give to young women who are interested in printing, or maybe they don't know they want to do printing and they kind of fall into it like both of you did. So, like, what kind of advice do you have?
I would say anybody who has interest to just go for it. A lot of people think printing is easy, that it just happens automatically, and there really is a lot of skill and knowledge needed behind it to do really good printing work. And printing is changing all the time. People might think printing is not a strong industry, but when you look at the wide format industry, for example, that is booming. And in experiential graphics and doing graphics installations, I mean, we've got a young woman on our staff who's just taken that and running with it. There are a lot of new things happening in printing that they may not be aware of. So if you're interested in it, just find somebody who can explain all the opportunities that are there, and just go for it. I mean, a lot of times I think young women and myself have done this. I look at a job, and if I don't know how to do every single thing on the job description, I might say, oh, I'm not going to apply for that. But I think that's where men maybe are a little more confident. They think, okay, I can do half of these things, so I'm just going to go for it. So I would just say go for it and see what's out there.
Yeah, I would say too, just don't question your abilities. This is a great field, so many opportunities, and there's so much growth. There's a million different ways your career could go in this field, and just don't question yourself.
The network of strong women in the printing industry in the implant world is huge. So I'm grateful that I've gotten to meet so many really smart and strong women who are true leaders in our industry. That's been a great thing for me.
Yeah, I don't think I could say it any better than that. It's truly amazing the number of women in the field that we've met and how strong and how smart and talented they are. I'm thankful every day for them.
Well, I'm thankful for both of you for taking the time today to talk to me, and I learned so much. And I hope everyone who's listening also learned a lot and take something away from it. Thank you.
You're very welcome. It's been a pleasure talking to both of you.
It has been. Thank you.